You cannot have my pain. You cannot have my pain. I killed those children. You cannot have my pain! I burnt those children. I did kill the people of Rathalis. You might have been there. But I made the choice. I decided. I killed him. It hurt so much, but I did it. And I accept that. You cannot have her. You cannot take her from me again. If I pretend I didn't do those things, it means that I can't have grown to become someone else. Or journey before destination. It cannot be a journey if it doesn't have a beginning. So I will take responsibility for what I have done. If I must fall, I will rise each time and be a better man. All great art is hated. It is obscenely difficult, if not impossible, to make something that nobody hates. Conversely, it is incredibly easy, if not expected, to make something that nobody loves. This makes sense, if you think about it. Art is about emotion, examination, and going places people have never gone before to discover and investigate new things. The only way to create something that nobody hates is to ensure that it can't be loved either. Remove enough spice from a soup, and you'll just end up with water. Human taste is as varied as human fingerprints. Nobody will like everything. Everybody dislikes something. Someone loves that thing you hate, but at least being hated is better than nothing. To risk metaphor, a grand painting is often about contrast. Brightest brights, darkest darks, not grey mush. That a thing is hated is not proof that it is great art, but the lack of hatred is certainly proof that it is not. So, when I say that you are the very embodiment of repulsiveness, I am merely looking to improve my art. You look so ugly, it seems that someone tried and failed to get the warts off your face through aggressive application of sandpaper. You are less of a human being and more of a lump of dung with aspirations. If someone took a stick and beat you repeatedly, it could only serve to improve your features. Your face defies description, but only because it nauseated all the poets. You're what parents used to frighten children into obedience. I tell you to put a sack over your head, but, oh, alas, poor sack. Theologians use you as proof that God exists, because such hideousness can only be intentional. There are two kinds of important men, Shallan. There are those who, when the boulder of time rolls toward them, stand up in front of it and hold out their hands. All their lives they've been told how great they are. They assume the word itself will bend to their whims as their nurse did when fetching them a fresh cup of milk. Those men end up squished. Other men stand to the side when the boulder of time passes, but are quick to say, "See what I did? I made the boulder roll there. Don't make me do it again." These men end up getting everyone else squished. Well, is there not a third type of person? Yes, there is. But they are oh so rare. These know they can't stop the boulder, so They walk beside it, study it, and bide their time. And then they shove it ever so slightly to create a deviation in its path. Well, these are the men who actually change the world. And they terrify me. For men never see as far as they think they do. What is it men value most in others? Well, what do you think? If a man or a woman were to have a talent, which would be the most revered, best regarded, considered the most worth? I once asked this question of some very wise scholars. What do men consider the most valuable of talents? One mentioned artistic ability, as you so keenly guessed. Another chose great intellect. And the final chose the talent to invent the ability to design and create great devices. Aesthetic genius, invention, acumen, creativity, noble ideals indeed. Most men would pick one of those if given the choice and name them the greatest of talents. What beautiful liars we are. Now, you think I'm a cynic. You think I'm going to tell you men claim to have these ideals but secretly prefer base talents, the ability to gain coin or to charm women. Well, I am a cynic, but in this case, I actually think those scholars were honest. Well, their answers speak for the souls of men. In our hearts, we want to believe in and would choose great accomplishment and virtue. That's why our lives, particularly to ourselves, are so beautiful. I didn't ask what was the most valuable. I asked what men value most. The difference between those two questions is both tiny and as vast as the world itself all at once. In this, as in all things, our actions give us away. If an artist creates a work of powerful beauty using new and innovative techniques, she'll be lauded as a master and will launch a new movement in aesthetics. Yet, what if another, working independently with the exact level of skill, were to make the same accomplishments the very next month? Would she find similar acclaim? No. She'd be called derivative. Her intellect. If a great thinker develops a new theory of mathematics, science, or philosophy, we will name him wise. We will sit at his feet and learn, and will record his name in history for thousands upon thousands to revere. But what if another man determines the same theory on his own, then delays in publishing his results by a mere week? Will he be remembered for his greatness? No, he will not. Invention. A woman builds a new design of great worth, some feat of engineering, she will be known as an innovator. But if someone with the same talent creates the same design a year later, not realizing it has already been crafted, will she be rewarded for her creativity? No. She'll be called a copier, a forger. And so in the end, what must we determine? Is it the intellect of a genius that we revere? If it were their artistry, the beauty of their mind, would we not laud it regardless of whether we'd seen their product before? But we don't. Given two works of artistic majesty otherwise weighted equally, we'll give greater acclaim to the one who did it first. It doesn't matter what you create. It matters what you create before anyone else. So it's not the beauty itself we admire. It's not the force of intellect. It's not invention, aesthetics, or capacity itself. The greatest talent that we think a man can have, it seems to me that it must be nothing more than novelty. the most important words a man can say are, "I will do better." These are not the most important words any man can say. I am a man, and they are what I needed to say. The ancient code of the Knights Radiant says, "Journey before destination." Some may call it a simple platitude, but it is far more. A journey will have pain and failure. It is not only the steps forward that we must accept, it is the stumbles, the trials, the knowledge that we will fail, that we will hurt those around us. But if we stop, if we accept the person we are when we fall, the journey ends. That failure becomes our destination. To love the journey is to accept no such end. I have found, through painful experience, that the most important step a person can take is always the next one. I'm certain some will feel threatened by this record. Some few may feel liberated. Most will simply feel that it should not exist. Well, I needed to write it anyway. I know that many women who read this will see it only as further proof that I am the godless heretic everyone claims. I can point to the moment when I decided for certain this record had to be written. I hung between realms, seeing into Shadesmar, the realm of the Spren and beyond. I thought that I was surely dead. Certainly, some who saw further than I did thought I had fallen. I did not die. I experienced something worse. That moment notwithstanding, I can honestly say this book has been brewing in me since my youth. The sum of my experiences has pointed at this moment, this decision. And perhaps my heresy stretches back to those days in my childhood where the ideas began. I ask not that you forgive me, nor that you even understand. I ask only that you read or listen to these words, to this record. I hold nothing back. I will try not to shy away from difficult topics or paint myself in a dishonestly heroic light. I will express only direct, even brutal truth. You must know what I have done, and what those actions cost me. For in this comes the lesson. It is not a lesson that I claim to be able to teach. Experience herself is the great teacher, and you must seek her directly. Well, you cannot have a spice prescribed to you, but you must taste it for yourself. However, with a dangerous spice, you can be warned to taste it lightly. I would that your lesson may not be as painful as my own. I am no storyteller to entertain you with whimsical yarns. I am no philosopher to intrigue you with piercing questions. I am no poet to delight you with clever allusions. I have no doubt that you are smarter than I am. I can only relate what happened, what I have done, and then let you draw conclusions. I will confess my murders before you, most painfully. I have killed someone who loved me dearly. I will confess my heresy. I do not back down from the things I have said, regardless of what the Ardents demand. Finally, I will confess my humanity. I have been named a monster, and I do not deny those claims. I am the monster that I fear we all can become. So sit back, read or listen to someone who has passed between realms. Listen to the words of a fool. If they cannot make you less foolish, at least let them give you hope. For I, of all people, have changed. Close your eyes. What do you see? In the driest part of the brightest day, the man set off from the eastern sea. And where he went, or why he ran, the answer comes for you from me. He ran from the storm. The man was Fleet, whose name you know. He's spoken of in song and lore. The fastest man e'er known to live, the surest feet e'er known to run. In time long past, in times I've known, he raced the Herald Canarak. He won that race as he did each one, but now the time for defeat had come. For Fleet so sure, and Fleet so quick to all who heard, he yelled his goal to beat the wind and race a storm. A claim so brash, a claim too bold to race the wind? It can't be done. Undaunted, Fleet was set to run. So to the east where went our Fleet, upon the shore his mark was set. The storm grew strong, the storm grew wild. Who was this man so set to dash? No man should tempt the god of storms, no fool has ever been so rash. With a clap of thunder, the race begins. O'er rock and grass our Fleet did run. He leaped the stones and dodged the trees, his feet a blur, his soul a sun. The storm, so grand, it raged and spun, but away from it our Fleet did run. The lead was his, the wind behind. Did man now prove that storms could lose? Through land he ran, so quick and sure, and Alethkar he left behind. But now the test he saw ahead. For mountains he would have to climb. The storm surged on, released a howl. It saw its chance might now approach. To the highest mounts and the coldest peaks, our hero Fleet did make his way. The slopes were steep and paths unsure. Would he maintain his mighty lead? No. The storm grew close till it chewed his heels. Upon his neck, Fleet felt its chill. Its breadth of ice was all around, a mouth of night and wings of frost. Its voice was of the breaking rocks, its song was of the crashing rain. Then the tip he reached, the point he found. Fleet climbed no more. He crossed the peak, and down the side his speed returned. Outside the storm, Fleet found the sun. Azia's plains were now his path. He sprinted west, more broad his stride. Yet soon the race its tool did claim. His feet like bricks, his legs like cloth. In gasps our runner drew his breath. The end approached, the storm outdone. But slowly did our hero run. A final challenge did raise its head, a final shadow to his dread. The land did rise up once again, the mystic mountains guarding Shin. To leave the storming winds behind, our Fleet again began to climb. The storms again came to his back, the winds again did spin around. Time was short, the ending near, as through the mountains our Fleet did dash. It was right upon him. Even going down the other side of the mountains, he was unable to stay very far ahead. He crossed the peaks, but lost his lead. The last paths lay before his feet, but strength he'd spent and might he'd lost. Each step was toil, each breath a pain, a sunken land crossed with grief. The grass so dead it did not move, but here the storm, it too did wilt. With thunder lost and lightning spent, the drops slipped down, now weak as wet, for Shin is not a place for them. Ahead the sea, the race's end. Fleet stayed ahead, his muscles raw. Eyes barely saw, legs barely walked, but on he went, to destiny. The end, you know. The end will live. A shock for men, to me you'll give. He died. Well, I can work with that. Upon that land of dirt and soil, our hero fell and did not stir. His body spent, his strength undone, Fleet the hero was no more. The storm approached and found him there. It still and stopped upon its course. The rains they fell, the winds they blew, but forward they could not progress. For glory lit and light alive, for goals unreached and aims to strive, all men must try, the winds did see. It is the test, it is the dream. So in that land of dirt and soil, our hero stopped the storm itself. And while the rain came down like tears, our fleet refused to end his race. His body dead, but not his will. Within those winds, his soul did rise. It flew upon the day's last song to win the race and claim the dawn. Past the sea and past the waves, our fleet no longer lost his breath. Forever strong, forever fast, forever free, to race the wind. There is an inn that you cannot find on your own. You must stumble across it on a misty street, late at night, lost and uncertain in a strange city. The door has a wheel on it, but the sign bears no name. If you find the place and wander inside, you'll meet a young man behind the bar. Well, he has no name. He cannot tell it to you. Should he want to, it's been taken from him. But he'll know you as he knows everyone who enters the inn. He'll listen to everything you want to tell him, and you will want to talk to him. And if you ask him for a story, he'll share one, like he shared with me. I will now share it with you. The story is a meaningless one. You must not search for a moral. It isn't that kind of story, you see. It's the other kind of story. This story is called The Dog and the Dragon. The dragon was a brilliant pearlescent colour, with silver running along the contours of its body. One day, the dog saw this dragon flying overhead. The dog marvelled, as one might expect. He had never seen anything so majestic or grand. The dragon soared in the sky, shimmering with iridescent colours in the sunlight. When it curved around and passed above the dog, it called out a mighty challenge, demanding in the human tongue that all alike acknowledge its beauty. The dog watched this from atop of a hill. Now, he wasn't particularly large, even for a dog. He was white, with brown spots and blobby ears, not of any specific breed or lineage, and small enough that the other dogs often mocked him. It was a common variety of a common species of a common animal that most people would rightfully ignore. But when this dog stared at the dragon and heard the mighty boast, he came to a realization. Today, he had encountered something he'd always wished for but never known. Today, he'd seen perfection, and it had been presented with a goal. From today, nothing else mattered. He was going to become a dragon. The dog sat upon that hilltop through an entire night and day, staring, thinking, dreaming. Finally, he returned to the farm where he had lived among others of his kind. These farm dogs all had jobs, chasing livestock or guarding the perimeter, but he, as the smallest, was seldom given any duty. Perhaps to another this would be liberating. To him, it had always been humiliating. As any problem to overcome is merely a set of smaller problems to overcome in a sequence, he divided his goal of becoming a dragon into 3 steps. First, he would find a way to have colourful scales like the dragon. Second, he would learn to speak the language of men like the dragon. Third, he would learn to fly like the dragon. The dog chose the scales first, as it seemed the easiest, and he wanted to begin his transformation with an early victory. He knew the farmer owned many seeds in a variety of colours, and they were the shape of little scales. Because he was not a thief, the dog did not take these, but he asked the other animals where the farmer obtained new ones. It turned out the farmer could make seeds by planting them in the ground, waiting for the plants to grow, then taking more seeds from the stalks. Knowing this, that dog borrowed some seeds and did the same, accompanying the farmer's eldest son on his daily work. As the youth worked, the dog moved alongside him, digging holes for seeds with his paws and planting them carefully with his mouth. It was an amusing scene watching the dog work. The farmer's eldest son found the dog's actions quite amusing. Then, incredible as the dog went out each day gripping a watering can in his teeth, the little dog watered each seed just as the farmer did. He learned to weed and fertilize, and eventually the dog was rewarded with his own small crop of colourful seeds. After replacing what he borrowed from the farmer, the dog got himself wet and rolled in the seeds, sticking them all over his body. He then presented himself to the other dogs. "Do you admire my wonderful new scales?" he asked his fellow animals. "Do I not look like a dragon?" They, in turn, laughed at him. "Those are not scales," they said. "You look stupid and silly. Go back to being a dog." The dog slunk away, feeling foolish and hurt. He had failed at his first task to have scales like a dragon. The dog, however, was not daunted. Surely, if he could speak with the grand voice of a dragon, they would all see. And so the dog spent his free time watching the children of the farmer. There were 3. The eldest son, who helped in the fields, the middle daughter, who helped with the animals, and the toddler, who was too young to help but was learning to speak. They were all working in the yard. The farmer's wife, who was taller than the farmer, a youth, lanky and assiduous, a daughter who would someday share her mother's height, a baby who toddled around the yard, tended by them all as they did their chores. Anyway, the dog figured that the best way to learn the language of men was to study their youngest child. So the dog played with the baby, stayed with him and listened as he began to form words. The dog played with the daughter to help her with yard work. He soon found that he could understand her if he tried hard, but he couldn't form words. He tried so hard to speak as they did, but his mouth could not make that kind of speech. His tongue did not work like a human tongue. Eventually, while watching the tall and serious daughter, he noticed she could make the words of humans. The dog was overjoyed by this. It was a way to speak without having a human tongue. The dog joined her at the table where she studied, inspecting the letters as she made them. He failed many times, but eventually learned to scratch the letters in the dirt himself. The farmer and his family thought this was an amazing trick. The dog was sure he had found a way to prove he was becoming a dragon. He returned to the other dogs in the field and showed them his writing ability by writing their names in the dirt. They, however, could not read the words. When the dog explained what writing was, they laughed. "This is not the loud and majestic voice of a dragon," the dog said. "This is speaking so quietly, nobody can hear it. You look silly and stupid. Go back to being a dog." They left the dog to stare at his writing. As rain began to fall, washing the words away, he realized they were correct. He had failed to speak with the proud and powerful voice of the dragon. But there was still hope. If the dog could just fly. If he could achieve this feat, the dogs would have to acknowledge his transformation. This task seemed even harder than the previous 2. However, the dog had seen a curious device in the barn. The farmer would tie bales of hay with the rope, then raise or lower them using a pulley in the rafters. Well, this was essentially flying, was it not? The bales of hay soared in the air, and so the dog practiced pulling on the rope himself and learned the mechanics of the device. He found that the pulley could be balanced with the weight on the other side, which made the bales of hay lower slowly and safely. The dog took his leash and tied it around him to make a harness, like the ones they wrapped up the hay. Then he tied a sack slightly lighter than he was to the rope, creating a weight to balance him. After using his mouth to tie the rope to his harness, he climbed to the top of the barn's loft and called for the other dogs to come in. When they arrived, he leapt gracefully off the loft. It worked. The dog lowered down slowly, striking a magnificent pose in the air. He was flying. He soared like the dragon had. He felt the air around him and knew the sensation of being up high with everything below him. When he landed, he felt so proud and so free. The other dogs laughed, the loudest they had ever laughed. "That is not flying like a dragon," they said. "You fell slowly. You look so stupid and silly. Go back to being a dog." This, at long last, crushed the dog's hopes. He realized the truth. A dog like him simply could not become a dragon. He was too small, too quiet, too silly. What was that? The dog looked up, confused. He heard noises, sudden shouting, yells, a panic. The dog raced out of the barn to find the farmer and his family huddled around the small farmyard well, which was barely wide enough for the bucket. The dog put his paws up to the edge of the well and looked down far below into the deep darkness of the hole. He heard crying and splashing. A pitiful gurgling cry was barely audible over the splashing. The littlest child of the farmer and his wife had fallen into the well and was drowning. The family screamed and wept. There was nothing to be done. Or was there? In a flash, the dog knew what to do. He bit the bucket off the well's rope, then had the eldest son tie the rope to his harness. He wrote, "Lower me," in the dirt, and then hopped onto the rim of the well. Finally, he threw himself into the well as the farmer grabbed the crank. Lowered down on this rope, the dog flew into the darkness. He found the baby all the way underwater, but shoved his snout in and took hold of the baby's clothing with his teeth. A short time later, when the family pulled him back up, the dog appeared holding the littlest child, wet, crying, but very much alive. That night, the family set a place for the little dog at their table and gave him a sweater to keep him warm, his name written across the front with letters he could read. They served a feast with the food the dog had helped grow. They gave him some of the cake, celebrating the birthday of the child whose life he had saved. That night, it rained on the other dogs who slept outside in the cold barn, which leaked. But the little dog snuggled into a warm bed beside the fire, hugged by the farmer's children, his belly full. And as he did, the dog sadly thought to himself, "I could not become a dragon. I am an utter and complete failure." The end. Whoa, 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 whoa. Cut the music. You're telling it wrong. That can't be the end. Remember, there is no moral to the story. I forgot to make you promise to not look out for morals. But the dog was amazing. He was absolutely not a failure. He does seem a bit defeatist, doesn't he? He put all those pressures on himself, though, to be like a dragon. But it doesn't matter that he never became a dragon. Everything he learned and did was incredible. You know, you are a hero too, for all the things that you do in your life. Even if they might seem mundane, they make an impact on all the people around them. Perhaps I'm always right. Now, for the real ending. That night, the little dog snuggled into a warm bed beside the fire, hugged by the farmer's children, his belly full. And as he did, the dog thought to himself, "I doubt any dragon ever had it so good." Anyway, the end. This is our enemy. There is no quarter here, no walking away. This is no simple job to be thrown aside when we encounter a few unexpected twists. Look at them! I know you question me,
You think I've been too hard on the nobility, to think that I relish killing them too much, but can you honestly see those men laughing and tell me that they don't deserve to die by my blade? I can only bring them justice. Breeze, you asked me about the atium. I'll be honest, it was never my main goal. I gathered this crew because I wanted to change things. We'll grab the atium, we'll need it to support a new government, but this job isn't about making me or any of you wealthy. Jeden is dead. He was our excuse, a way that we could do something good while still pretending that we were just thieves. Now that he's gone, you can give up if you want, quit, but that won't change anything. The struggle will go on, men will still die, you'll just be ignoring it. It's time to stop the charade. If we're going to do this now, we have to be upfront and honest with ourselves. We have to admit that this isn't about money, it's about stopping that. I intend to continue my fight. I realize that some of you question my leadership. You think I've been building myself up too much with the scar. You whisper that I'm making myself into another Lord Ruler. You think my ego is more important to me than overthrowing the Empire. You're wrong. You have to trust me. You gave me your confidences when we began this plan, despite how dangerous things seemed. I still need that confidence, no matter how things appear, no matter how terrible the odds. We have to keep fighting. This is our enemy. There is no quarter here, no walking away. Well, this is no simple job to be thrown aside when we encounter a few unexpected twists. Look at them. I know you question me. You think I've been too hard on the nobility, think that I relish killing them too much, but can you honestly see those men laughing and tell me that they don't deserve to die by my blade? I only bring them justice. Breeze, you asked about the atium? I'll be honest, it was never my main goal. I gathered this crew because I wanted to change things. We'll grab the atium, we'll need it to support a new government, but this job isn't about making me or any of you wealthy. Jeden is dead. He was our excuse, a way that we could do something good while still pretending to be just thieves. And now that he's gone, you can give up if you want, quit. But that won't change anything. The struggle will go on, men will still die. We'll just be ignoring it. It's time to stop the charade. If we're going to do this now, we have to be upfront and honest with ourselves. We have to admit that this isn't about money. It's about stopping that. I intend to continue my fight. I realize that some of you question my leadership. You think I've been building myself up too much with the scar. You whisper that I'm making myself into another Lord Ruler. You think my ego is more important to me than overthrowing the Empire. You're wrong. Now you have to trust me. You gave me your confidence when we began this plan, despite how dangerous things seemed. I still need that confidence, no matter how things appear, no matter how terrible the odds are. We have to keep fighting. What is it to be God, Waxillium? Would you have me intervene and stop the murders of innocents? Well, I could do this. I have considered it. If I were to stop everyone, what then? Do I stop maimings as well? And where do I hold back, Waxillium? Do I prevent all wounds, or do I prevent only those caused by evil people? Do I stop a man from falling asleep so that he may not tip a candle and burn down his house? Do I stop all harm that could ever befall a person? And once nobody is ever hurt, will people be satisfied? Will they not pray to me and ask for more? Will some people still curse and spit at the sound of my name because they are poor and another is rich? Should I mitigate this, make everyone the same, Waxillium? I've already done as you suggest. You do not see it, because the worst never reaches you. I ask you your lives and your courage. I ask you your faith and your honor, your strength and your compassion. For today, I lead you to die. I will not ask you to welcome this event. I will not insult you by calling it well or just or even glorious. But I will say this. Each moment you fight is a gift to those in this cavern. Each second we fight is a second longer than thousands of people can draw breath. Each stroke of the sword, each colossus felled, each breath earned is a victory. It is a person protected for a moment longer, a life extended, an enemy frustrated. In the end, they will kill us. But first, they shall fear us. I have failed you. I have planned these caverns, knowing a calamity is coming, hoping that I might find some secret that might be of use should I fall to the thing scheming. Yet, I have nothing. I do not know how to defeat it. The only thing I can think of is to keep it at bay by taking the power of the well for myself when it returns. However, if you're reading this, I have failed. That means I am dead. As I write this, I find that prospect to be less tragic than I might previously have assumed. I would rather not deal with the thing. It has been my constant companion, the voice that whispers to me, always telling me to destroy, begging me to give it freedom. I fear that it has corrupted my thoughts. It cannot sense what I think, but it can speak inside of my head. 800 years of this has made it difficult for me to trust my own mind. Why, sometimes I hear the voices and simply assume that I am mad. That would certainly be preferable. I do know that these words must be written in steel to be preserved. I've written them in a steel sheet, then ordered them scribed into a plate, knowing that in doing so I reveal my weakness to my own priests. The thing has whispered to me that I'm a fool to expose myself by writing this and letting others see it. That is primarily why I decided to go through with the creation of this plate. Doing so seemed to make the thing angry. Well, that is reason enough, I think. It is good that some few of my loyal priests know of my weakness, if only for the good of the Empire, should I somehow fall. I have tried to be a good ruler. At first, I was too young, too angry. I made mistakes. Yet, I have tried so hard. I nearly destroyed the world with my arrogance, and yet I fear I've nearly destroyed it again through my rule. I can do better. I will do better. I will create a land of order. The thoughts in my mind, however, make me wonder just how much of what I do has been twisted from my original intentions. At times, my empire seems like a place of peace and justice.
Yet, if that is so, why can I not stop the rebellions? They cannot defeat me, and I must order them slaughtered each time they rise up. Can I not see the perfection of my system? Regardless, this is not the place for a justification. I need no justification, for I am, after a form, God. Yet, I know there is something greater than I. If I can be destroyed, it will be the cause of that destruction. I have no advice to give. It is more powerful than I am. It is more powerful than this world. It claims to have created this world, in fact. It will destroy us all eventually. Or perhaps these stories will let mankind survive a little longer. Perhaps not. I am dead. I doubt that I should care. Still, I do. For you are my people. I am the hero of ages. That is what it must mean. Hero of ages. A hero that lives through the ages as I do. Know that the thing's power is not complete. Fortunately, I have hidden his body well.